On this episode of Nerdy Romantics Podcast, we continue our discussion of Captain America Brave New World. We talk about Sam Wilson as the new Captain America and all of the online controversy around this choice. We talk a little bit about a casting controversy that didn't really have to happen. And we explain the post-credit end scene and give our thoughts on the post-credit end scene. We finally wrap it all up with a Goodreads rating based on Goodreads 1 to 5-star rating. Remember, there will be spoilers on this episode as well. So, if you've watched Captain America, please stay tuned. This is the Nerdy Romantics Podcast, and I'm your host, Y.M. Nelson. So now that we've mentioned it a couple of times, I usually don't talk about controversy that goes on because I'd rather talk about the piece itself, the movie or the book or the show, whatever we're talking about. But because there is so much controversy that's going on with this, let's talk a little bit controversy. Okay, hands raised for everybody who thinks Black Captain America being controversial is something that we even need to talk about, or is this pure junk?
I think it's junk.
I think it's junk, but I think it's
junk.
worth talking about to some degree. But yeah, it is junk.
Yeah.
Like, it's not controversial to me, but I'm not the person who find it controversial. So, I mean, to me, I think every time there's something different, it's like, why you have to change this? Or, we've all seen like what happened with Bridgerton and, stuff like that. So we know that certain people have an issue with it. The ones that say this is not, and I think it is canon, because I think it is from the comic books, but
it is.
Yeah, but people will say, no, that's not the Captain America I saw in the last 3 movies or whatever, how many movies. When, okay, but this is not from the movie. They're getting it from comic books. But, I mean, I don't want to go about what's going on right now and the stuff that's going on in the world and in this country. But, yeah, I see that might have been, when they tested it with certain audiences, they were like, we might have to change some things. So I think it depends on the audience.
I do think that it was, unfortunately, there was some timing of things that were happening outside of it that did impact. Because I bet if you ran that test screen now, I feel like the response might have been different because everybody is sitting in a different place. But I do think that that's part of it. I think that might also be the part that in the way that the film was made irks me about the name. Because it's the Brave New World part that we got a Black Captain America. Is that everybody else being brave while they endure that? Like, what about this version of the movie was the Brave New World we were supposed to be embracing or whatever? Like, I feel like, to me, I didn't see if that is what we're calling being brave, then I'm disappointed in Marvel for taking that stance. If there was some other Brave New World we were supposed to be embracing, then I'm upset with Marvel for not making that clearer. Staci, you bring up Bridgerton, but I think the difference there is that Shonda said, I'm going to do it anyway, where Marvel said, we're going to tweak it to make it more palatable to an audience. And to be fair and to be honest, with the success of Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, had the movie been what it was supposed to be, had the people that saw it first really seen a great Captain America, had we seen Giancarlo Esposito, because he can say he's whatever he is, but when you were in school days, to us, you're part of the community. We would have been looking for that, and we would have supported that in a different way. But I think the people saw it first, and then also from our own community started looking at it, kind of dulled the support that we could have for the movie, because we recognized that it wasn't what we had been told it was going to be either. And I think that was also part of it. So yeah, I think I feel like the intentions were good, and I feel like Perry in some way that I wish I could have seen the first version and seen what they had before they started
Doing the reshoots.
doing the research and letting focus groups change what they know the story should have been. Because I think that movie I didn't dislike this one, but I think I would have loved that other one.
Marcie, before I miss this, there are two things that you said that really resonate with me. The first thing is the fact that they, and you didn't say this, but I'm going to say it. The fact that they pandered to a certain audience, and if they had done a little bit a different target audience research and done a little bit different marketing, that they probably would have gotten a better response, i.e. what happened with Black Panther. All you had to do is tell us Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman. You showed us the trailer. The trailer is unapologetically Black, right? And we knew where this was coming from. This is coming from out of the Marvel universe. That is not all Black. We understand that. We understand that it's in the Marvel universe. But you give us this movie, and what happened? You got the biggest grossing movie in your studios, basically. You know,
And
you
then we followed
before
him,
Endgame, I should
and
say,
then we
probably.
followed him through movies
We
that he was
did.
probably not in,
Yes.
because we wanted to still support the character. So you had non-superhero people still showing up for the movies in the middle
Right.
to support the character. And then when it turns back around, we have this character, and the Marvel community can't show up for a Marvel superhero in the same way, even despite being canon. We got that. And then we've got a studio saying we'll change this, that, and the other to make it more palatable to, honestly, people who probably weren't coming anyway, who
Right.
probably
Right.
weren't
Exactly.
coming to a superhero movie at this point anyway. And so I feel like me, as a frustration as a viewer, was we didn't get the story. And I think, Perry, you said it. Like, I thought we were getting like the Serpent Society. I thought we were getting a Captain America movie where we were going to see something. I thought when I saw Giancarlo Esposito in that first scene that we were going to get a through line, and he showed up almost like, what was the dude not that Killmonger bought the
Claw?
vibranium from? Yeah, he
Yeah.
showed up almost like Claw. He just kind of showed up in a couple of places randomly throughout the movie, and we were supposed to be like, oh, I get it. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I feel like that to me was a point where I was like, this isn't the movie. I think you finally verbalized it for me. This isn't the movie I thought I was going to see, because I thought the
Yes.
movie I was going to see was that story. And so
Yeah.
then I was waiting for it, and I got snippets of it, but as a subplot to the Red Hulk, and not as the story I thought I was coming to see. And I think that's part of it. Is I feel like the choices that got made on the cutting room floor were not the movie I thought I was going to see.
Yeah. And the other thing that you mentioned was about the Brave New World part, and the Captain America Sam Wilson character talks about the fact that every time he goes out, he's representing all Black people, and that is a pressure on him, and it's hard. And probably every Black person that was in the audience when I went, I don't know about all of y'all, but probably every Black person that was in the audience when I went was like, yep, yep, been there, been there. And if that's what they were doing with the name, it's infuriating to me at this point. That you're saying it's a brave new world when we have a Black Captain America. Like, are you kidding me right now with this? And then, kind of to piggyback off what both you and Perry were saying, and Perry, I would love to hear you elaborate a little bit on this from the comic perspective. When I was going in, I didn't think it was going to be this much controversy, because not only is this already in the comics for the comic book fans, but for us Marvel, we just came in with the MCU, or we just watched the animated stuff. For us in that realm, this has already been established. Steve already passed the shield over to Sam. He already did that. and we have a whole series here of Sam actually becoming Captain America. So we already have the through point. So why all the controversy is beyond me. And why the Marvel fans, the people who actually go in this because they are the comic book fans, for it to be in the comic books already and there's still controversy is beyond me. So, Carrie, from a comic book perspective, are we seeing what's in the comic books? Is this how it's going or what?
So a few things here. First off, the Brave New World title was actually a retitle. The original title was New World Order. And what happened was because there was a lot of all that QAnon nonsense and all this kind of like conspiracy theorist nonsense, because New World Order is like a trigger word for them.
Yes.
So that, that caused Marvel to kind of to shift the title. And I mean, I don't think they were trying to make a statement about it being a brave thing because it's a black man. I think it was just that's a common, just like that's something that's a common phrase that evokes the kind of same idea. And I think they just weren't really thinking about that aspect of it as it came across.
This is why y'all need DEI, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I'm sorry. Continue, Perry.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But also the whole thing about Sam as Captain America, and here's the thing that drives me nuts about this, because the whole idea of legacy heroes and heroes passing on their legacy and their identities to other characters, that's been in the comics for decades. That goes all the way back to, Barry Allen becoming the Flash in the 1960s. Before that, it was Jay Garrick. And, then you had Hal Jordan as Green Lantern. Before that, it was Alan Scott. The whole legacy thing has been a thing for a long time. And typically it is the partner who is the natural successor. So when Bruce Wayne hangs up the cowl, it's Dick Grayson who picks it up. And when Diana hangs up her lasso, it's Donna Troy picks it up, and so on and so forth. Like, this has been a thing where it's always the partner who picks up the legacy. They're the natural choice for successor. And if you look at the comics history, first off, when Bucky was gone for most of the time that Cap was being published, like Sam in the comics canonically has been Steve's partner for a lot longer period of time than Bucky ever was.
Wow.
And so when they're looking to pass the mantle to someone else, yeah, Sam is the natural choice for the successor. And even in the movies, it makes sense because Bucky has all this baggage from his time as the Winter Soldier that he is not the one who feels like he is the best person to represent this. He's still got a lot of stuff he has to work with. Sam is the natural choice for the successor. So but it's always the thing. It's always, right, this shows you what they're really arguing against. They're not arguing, this argument never came up when Dick Grayson was Batman, never came up when Beta Ray Bill, the horse-faced alien, was Thor, never came up when, there was a new Green Lantern or a new Flash or anything like that. Never once came up. It only comes up when it's a black man or it's a woman picking up the legacy of a white man. That's the only time it comes up. And that shows you what they're really arguing against.
Yes. Like Thor being a woman. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And they're saying, well, that's his name. Like, well, there were other characters who also called themselves Thor who weren't that character too in the comics too. So it's just this kind of stuff drives me nuts about that, because I'm like, we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. And this ties back into the whole with the outrage thing. If you look at Marvel communities like on Reddit or something like that where I hang out, most of them think all this controversy is garbage. Most real comics fans understand this stuff. The people who are generating all this controversy and outrage, it is the trolls who make money off of this through clickbait. That's really what it is. And it goes back to the whole Gamergate nonsense with Milo, whatever his name is, who got involved in the whole Gamergate stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't even like video games, never played video games. He just he just saw an opportunity for generating rage, and then he capitalized on it. That's what they all do.
Yeah. Okay. So anybody want to say anything else about this controversy thing? Because I really don't. I just needed to address it because it's out there. What I really do want to talk about, obviously, we're reviewing this. I do want to give it a rating, but And we've also talked a lot about, some characters that we saw and we liked. I love, Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley. I love that, and I love the fact that they did bring him in. We already talked about Giancarlo Esposito. I mean, him as part of the Serpent Society stuff. Volker, I guess is his last name. I mean, yeah, I thought he was going to be the big bad guy, right? And then, too, Red Hulk is not actually the bad guy. So that was the other thing, that in the posters and everything, you see Captain America battling Red Hulk, and he's not the bad guy, right? It's very confusing. But there was some other controversy in casting. Perry, you wanted to mention the Shira Haas, the controversy there, because I did not hear the controversy with her being cast.
Yeah, so the controversy with her is, so she had an exemption for the Israeli Defense Force. For anyone who doesn't know, Israel has, mandatory conscription, but she had an actual exemption. She had a medical exemption, but she still volunteered for the IDF, and she's been very supportive of Israel's actions in Gaza and all that. So that's where most of that comes from. It comes from the fact that there was this, that she was so supportive of what Israel is doing in Palestine, and so much so that she volunteered for this. And the character in the comics, is a superhero herself. Ruth Bat Seraph is the character Sabra, which is also a controversial term as well because of its tie to Zionism. And her role was reduced because of all this controversy. But honestly, I feel like this was someone that we did not need in this movie. I don't think she even brings anything. You already have that Secret Service agent, which would have given more representation too. I'm probably going to mispronounce her name, but Zosha Roquemore, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, who plays Layla Taylor, and who was a romantic interest for Sam in the comics too. So that would have been something else to do. Like, give her more. Everything that Shira Haas did in this movie, Zosha Roquemore could have done just as well. You didn't need Shira Haas. It was unnecessary. Talking about controversy, this was a controversy you didn't even need. This is just a self-inflicted wound.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of glad I did that controversy. Would have been like, oh, and then I would have been looking at, no, I can't look at, no. But wow, I mean, so much here going on with this movie, but yeah, I think if we had been there and if we had written this movie correctly, if we had been given these characters and said, oh, this is what's going to happen, or even like Marcie said, if we had just seen the movie before the first reshoots, wow, that would have been interesting. You kind of wonder too at this point if there is a copy of the movie the way that it before the reshoots, so it could be kind of like a Zack Snyder's Justice League kind of thing, and they could put it out and we could see it, especially after all this controversy. But I know how Marvel Studios probably will do that. It's not as chaotic as it is over there at DC. or was. I mean, I don't know what James Gunn's gonna do, but yeah. But before we talk in credit scene, anybody have anything to say about any of the characters? I think we kind of went over a lot of the character stories and things like that.
I got two things I wanted to add. First off is I really love Danny Ramirez in this. Like, we didn't get to see much of him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so I didn't know what to expect, and I wasn't as keen on him picking up the Falcon suit because I felt like it's too much of the same when they both have basically a Falcon suit, and I would have liked it if they'd gone, because in the comics he actually becomes like a mutated bird, like human hybrid type creature, which I think would have been a little bit more, add some more variety if they'd worked that in somehow. But those flight scenes were amazing, and I thought his interactions with Anthony Mackie, I thought their chemistry was completely on point, and I really enjoyed watching him in this role a lot more than I expected to. Carl Lumbly, man, I've loved him ever since Mantis. Anyone remembers that TV show?
Yes, Mantis in the 90s. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he's great. He's the perfect choice for Isaiah Bradley, and I just wish we got to see more of him. Esposito, I agree, man. it's kind of like with Mads Mikkelsen. They kind of wasted him. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen would have been the perfect Doctor Doom. Giancarlo Esposito, I think he would have made the perfect Professor X. And I think like they just wasted both these actors.
Yes. Oh, wow. Now you're yeah. Okay. I'm about to go off here. Yeah, no. I totally agree. Some of the characters that we didn't see enough of were some of the best characters, in my opinion, in this, and I think some of the story that we didn't see enough of would have made the best story, in my opinion, too, which, kind of goes into, I think, what my rating's going to be in the end. But let's talk the very end credit scene because I have thoughts. So at the very end credit scene, Captain America is talking to the leader. And of course, the leader is mentioning that, the heroes on Earth are not the only heroes in the universe, and there's other people out there. And so as I was going out of the theater, I was like, I wonder exactly what he's mentioning, number one, first. But secondly, I was thinking, wow, I don't know why, but for some reason I was thinking when he went to the raft, I thought he was going to go and see Zemo. And I thought that was going to be a connection somehow to Thunderbolts because of the Winter Soldier. And, the last time we saw Zemo was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier when he goes to the raft or whatever. So for some reason, I thought it was going to be Zemo, and it wasn't. But now that it is a leader and that he's talking about this, and now that we've seen Doomsday, and we also know that there is that Avengers Secret Wars, or is it just Secret Wars? Okay.
It's still Avengers Secret Wars, I believe.
Okay, so now that we know those two movies are on the horizon, is that what he's talking about? Is that what he's referring to? Are we just all, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. He's referring to the multiverse saga. And honestly, I didn't like this post-credit scene. I felt it was kind of a hat on a hat. It reminded me of the post-credit scene in Age of Ultron where you see Thanos putting on the gauntlet. He says, "I'm going to do it myself." Like, we knew you were coming. We know all this. This isn't adding anything. And it's the same thing here. We've known about the multiverse stuff. We've seen enough of it so far to know there's something else out there. And this was a chance to do something else, right? We could have done, like you said, like having a tie into Thunderbolts would have been cool. Having something more with Isaiah would have been great. Like anything other than this, which doesn't add a damn thing to any of this. I was really kind of annoyed by this post-credit scene.
Also,
Marcie.
for me, Yvonne, I think you know this because I had to ask you about it,
Yes.
but they embedded it too far down. And so I didn't even get to see it because I had been in the movie enjoying a libation and had to go to the bathroom. And I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. And it was the longest list of credits with the slowest music I have ever seen in my life. And apparently, right after I had to give up and make a run for it, the post-credit scene was there. And I know, Yvonne, you say they're normally that far back, but I feel like they're usually in the middle of the credits, not necessarily all the way to the end. Because by the time I left, we had gotten all the way down to all the post-location credits and the end of the music credits. Like I was almost, it was, I don't think I've ever stayed that long to see the post movie credit, but I never saw it in the theater because I couldn't last that long. But having seen it on YouTube, I didn't love it. I mean, I agree. Usually it's something different in the post scene credit. And I don't think it was, I would have loved to see a recap of anything. The president and his daughter, anything. Like I just, yeah, it didn't help me at all.
Have Ruffalo reacting to some of this, since these are characters from his movie, so
Right.
from not his movie, because he wasn't in that movie, but still.
Something else from the Serpent Society, some other mention of vibranium, anything else would have been more useful than that credit.
Yeah. I want to say something to Marcie's point, but Staci, what did you think? At the end credit?
It didn't really matter. I mean, it didn't, like I said, it didn't do anything. It was just okay. And like I watched it here at home, and I was just waiting, and I think it was a lot longer than you said, because my mood was like, okay, we're gonna show the next thing. It's like, wait a minute, don't do that. I gotta find this post credit scene. And when he just said, hey, there are other heroes out there, and I was like, yeah, we know. I mean, it's other hero. Okay, what more? I mean, it would have been better if they brought, because they, talked about adamantium or something like that. And it had something like a claw coming out, and we were like, oh, it'd have been something if it was something
Yes.
more than that. Or like you said, like, it could have brought in Mark there, because it's just something else than that.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, okay, other characters. Like, yeah, they got 3 movies coming out. What other what other heroes we talking about? Give me something else besides that.
Right. Give me something to look forward to in Avengers, whatever the new one is. The Shadow Wars. What is it called?
Doomsday is the next
Doomsday.
one. And then Secret
Doomsday
Wars
is
is
the
going to be the
And
one
Secret
after
Wars.
that.
Right. Give me something to look forward to help me, more than the season. Anything. But that was absolutely useless. It didn't tell me anything I didn't already see in the movie I was barely liking.
Right, right. And so to Marcie's point, yes, the end credits, because some of them also had the middle end credits, which this one had a middle credit whatever scene as well. But the very end credits usually is at the very end. But it's usually something that really connects and really ties in or really intrigues you for the next thing. Or it's just really funny, like when they all went to the shawarma place at the end of Avengers, like that was hilariously funny. Or like at the end of, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where Stan Lee is on this rock and he's like, I'm telling this story and y'all don't leave me or whatever. That was like worth it, funny for me. Or it's either tying you into the next thing or giving you like intrigue. Even with the other tie-in movie that we discussed, The Marvels. I mean, that post-credit scene with, Monica Rambeau and her mother. Wasn't that her mother?
Yep.
Maria?
Yep.
And then we saw, the Kelsey Grammer beast, and we're like, oh my gosh, today, everything's happening, You're having this feeling like something's happening. But you're usually waiting for that, and when it comes, it's like, it's like a thing, like when, Stan Lee was alive, you were looking for Stan Lee, it was almost like where's Waldo kind of thing. But this, yes, it had gone on too long. We had already seen another post-credit scene in there. And so when we see this one, it's just basically like a letdown, because we already know that Avengers Doomsday is coming by this point. Because Dr. Doom was already at Comic-Con before this movie came out. He was at Comic-Con last year. So it wasn't worth it, y'all. I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you, Marcie. It wasn't worth it. And it felt longer than it usually feels. So that's another thing. And yes.
I mean, to Staci's point, you know what I think would have been a great thing to do is have them talking about using adamantium for this new project called Weapon X. And that was it. You don't even have to have a new Wolverine in there or anything. You just mention that in there.
Right.
People would have freaked out.
Just a mention of it to tie, like, to bring the story arc, to push it forward past where, just a mention of it. I mean,
yeah. It makes the whole Brave New World thing. It pulls that in.
Exactly.
Because that's what the whole thing is about.
Yeah.
Exactly. This one kind of, I agree, fell flat and it didn't push normally the other ones were either the comic relief we needed or pushing the story forward and ramping you up for the next one. But this one, I mean, there was nothing. I mean, even the tone of the people talking didn't give it any kind of.
Right. They were just like, hey, we need to do this end credit
There's going to be
y'all.
some more. You think you're the only ones? There's other things out there. But not in his threatening, usual kind of way. He been hyped the entire movie, and now you just going to sit there
He was.
calmly on your prison bed and just vibe out with people you still don't like. It just didn't. No.
Speaking of a Harrison Ford connection, this had the same energy of the narration that the studio forced Harrison Ford to do for Blade Runner. It had that exact same energy. It's like both Mackie and the guy who played Stearns, I'm blanking on his Nelson. They felt like they didn't want to be there. It just felt like
Right.
like
That's
all
what
right,
I'm
let's
saying.
just come on.
So this I'm supposed to believe this is really you, your nemesis visiting you on the other side of the bars, and you gonna sit on the bed and not get all hyped like you normally would when your nemesis is standing in front of you and you're trying to tell them that you might possibly still have beaten them because you still know something they don't know. And this is the level of energy you giving to that. I was like, oh, come on.
Right. Yeah. And so ends a very controversial and somewhat confusing movie at times. So let's all see what we're gonna rate this one, because anyway, I'll talk about why I'm rating it what I'm rating it. But when we talk ratings, we are talking a 5-star rating, and we are getting it from Goodreads, because ideally this is supposed to be a book podcast, but do a lot of other stuff here. So your rating of 1 star means we didn't like it. Rating of 2 stars means it was okay. 3 stars means we did like it. 4 stars means that we really liked it. And 5 stars, it was amazing. And yes, you can rate in between. So, Marcie, you had the last word. What do you rate this one?
Despite my gripes about what I wish it had been done better, I did really enjoy the first part of the movie, especially. So the Carl Lumley storyline, that initial setup, I did enjoy seeing Joaquin Torres as the Falcon in his little moments. I was hyped to see Giancarlo Esposito. So for me, I'm probably gonna give it a 3 for the parts that I liked. And if it was at home, I would watch it. If you're watching us and you haven't seen it yet, you didn't go to the theater like we did, and you're gonna watch it on Disney Plus, it's worth a watch. Is it my first watch? Maybe not, but if you're die hard, definitely worth a watch. And if you're an Anthony Mackie fan, I say go for it. It was worth it to see it. I'm glad I was in the theater.
All right. Yeah. So, Staci, what do you rate it?
Can I hear those again?
Okay. Yes. 1, we didn't like it. 2, it was okay. 3, we liked it. 4, we really liked it. And 5, it was amazing.
I guess 2.5. I
Okay.
thought it was okay. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't dislike it or anything like that. It was just like, okay, watch the movie. I didn't leave it being overly like, sometimes you get that whole feeling of you watch the superhero movie, you're like, dun, dun, you just feel like I didn't feel that. But I was like, okay, it's all right. If it comes, like I said, if it comes on Disney Plus, yeah, I'll watch it there. Would I spend my money on it elsewhere again? No. But I'll watch it if it comes on Disney Plus. But even if since I've already watched it, if it came on again, I'll be like, yeah, I'm good. So that's why I'm giving it 2.5 stars.
All righty then. Harry, what about you? What did you rate it?
I think I'd probably go maybe not quite 3.5, but not quite 3. Somewhere between 3 and 3.5, I'd say, is where I'd fall.
Okay.
It's enjoyable. There's some stuff holding it back. I feel like where the Cap movies work best is like with Winter Soldier, when they focus on the geopolitical stuff and they really hone in on that political thriller angle. And this had those elements there, and then they got cold feet and they pulled back. And I feel like if they had just focused on the political thriller elements, the geopolitical stuff, I think this would have easily been a 4 or 4.5. But that cold feet aspect drags it down.
Yeah. Yeah. I am going to echo a lot of what everybody is saying here. I'm going to give it in that same range. I'm just going to say 3.25, in the middle of 3 and 3.5. I'm going to say that the 4 the movie itself, I'm going to say for the performances of Anthony Mackie as Captain America, Carl Lumbly as the first Captain America, Isaiah Bradley, for Giancarlo's performance, for a lot of the characters that we were talking about, I'm giving their performances 4.5 stars. Okay. I think their performances, and if you haven't seen this one, I think you should see it for their performances, right? The story itself and where the plot of the movie is going is just 3.25. It's not there. Like I said in the beginning, I think the pacing is off. And I think part of the reason why the pacing is off, as we have been finding out, is it is not the movie that we thought it was going to be. And, I kind of echo as well what Perry said. If it was the movie that we thought it was going to be, it would be a 4.5. And I think, too, the reason why I wanted to point out, especially Anthony Mackie's performance and those kinds of things, I think I've been reading a little bit too much social media and too much online stuff that is focused on the fact that, he's Black Captain America and why are we doing this? And he's Anthony Mackie. Do we really want? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Yes. He's amazing in this.
I agree.
Okay? He's good.
His performance was stellar. He sold the struggle of being a superhero without superpowers in a way that made it look like it was a challenge, but didn't make it look like it was a drudge. He sold real life superheroism in a way that I
Yes.
think maybe only he could have done, with also that sense of humor and with also knowing when to inject that into certain scenes, but also with the gravitas that was needed in places as well. So I think if you look at the acting work, you can't give him anything less than 4.5,
Right.
5 stars. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't wait to see more of him in Captain America. I wish I had seen more of him as Captain America in this movie, and more of some of the other performances. But yeah. And so here goes another Marvel movie in the books. I want to thank you, Marcie, Staci, and Perry, for joining me in this discussion, for even watching this movie for this discussion. Thank you for that. And I've already asked you back again, so I can't wait to see y'all again for the next one. Hi. Want to get show notes from this and future episodes in your inbox? Then subscribe to Nerdy Romantics newsletter at nerdyromanticspodcast.com/subscribe. Nerdy Romantics newsletter not only has show notes, but nerdy and romantic recs and sneak peeks and exclusives of my spicy nerdy romances and love stories. I love talking sci-fi, superheroes, fantasy, and romance books, movies, and shows with my friends. So share this podcast with your nerdy romantic friends. Thanks for listening and for watching.